Britain is set to suspend its extradition treaty with Hong Kong amid growing international condemnation of China's new national security law in the territory. Now, this controversial law punishes a broad range of offenses that are considered a subversion, terrorism, or collusion with foreign elements. That did not stop pro-democracy activists from holding an unofficial primary election, hoping to come up with enough candidates to win a majority in the legislature later this year. On Monday, prominent pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong submitted his application to run in the poll. Another one of Hong Kong's most prominent young activists, Nathan Law, recently fled Hong Kong to London, where our reporter Charlotte Potts caught up with him.
It's not all new to Nathan Law in London. The left-hand traffic, he says, reminds him of Hong Kong, his home, which he fled 2 weeks ago. The new security law made it impossible for the activist to stay.
I myself are in great danger under the law, but also a lot of my fellow activists in Hong Kong. So a lot of us are under huge stress and fear of being prosecuted.
I'm meeting Law in central London. The 27-year-old brought this banner all the way from Hong Kong, a banner that could now get him arrested at home, and a reminder of what he is fighting for. Freedom, it says in Chinese. The activist does not want to disclose his exact location and plans because he's concerned for his safety.
We all know that China's reach could be very extensive. For me, I'm constantly moving and being extremely careful and cautious about everything. So I hope that I could protect myself.
It was an umbrella that once made Law famous when, alongside thousands of other Hong Kongers, he protested for democracy in 2014. Together with Joshua Wong, he founded the pro-democracy opposition party Demosisto and got elected to the city's de facto parliament. Now Law has had to leave his life in Hong Kong behind.
These are very painful decisions, but for me, I think it's more than myself. It's more than a personal decision. It's a strategy for the movement because we need to have someone to speak on the international level freely on Hong Kong people's demand when they cannot speak up on the ground. So for me, I would love to bear that responsibility, even though I need to have some personal sacrifice.
Law came to London on a visitor visa with one clear purpose. He wants to be the strong voice for those still fighting the fight back in Hong Kong, but who are now being silenced under the new security law.
Yeah, it's a historical time for UK regarding the China policy. There's a huge change in the past 6 months that I think is cross-aisle, a strong consensus in the UK politics that we have to be more assertive to China. And I hope that my presence and my engagement in the UK could facilitate that change, that we could hold China accountable in the future. We have sense of
Law wants to empower the movement and his fellow activists from abroad. But the reality of not knowing if and when he can return to Hong Kong in the future leaves him sad.
It's just like it's a waiting that you don't know when it will end. And I also carry a lot of responsibility on my shoulder for now. And I have to remind myself I don't live for myself, but for the whole movement.
It's a lonely path that Nathan Law has chosen, but one where he believes he can be the most useful to the cause.
For more on this story, let's go to Hong Kong, where our correspondent Phoebe Kong is standing by for us. Hi, Phoebe. We saw there that Nathan Law is now in London, and we also mentioned that Britain is looking set to suspend its extradition treaty with Hong Kong. Does the democracy movement there see Britain as a safe haven?
Well, Britain's latest move is expected to further escalate its relations and tensions with China. That the UK actually follows suit after many of its allies, including US, Canada and Australia suspended its extradition treaty with Hong Kong. So Hong Kong's controversial national security law is only one of the reasons that triggers controversy between Britain and China. That apart from that, the UK has recently announced that to remove or ban Chinese telecommunication giants Huawei from its 5G networks, and the UK government is also under pressure from its ruling party members that to sanction certain Chinese officials who violate, get involved in human rights abuses. So from the perspective of Beijing, its ambassador in London has already warned that Beijing will resolutely react to any kind of sanction towards Chinese officials. So in the future, it's expected that the tension between the UK and China is going to intensify in the short-coming future.
Meanwhile, we've been looking at some pictures of another prominent pro-democracy movement founder, Joshua Wong, and he's just announced that he'll stand for the election to the Legislative Council in Hong Kong. But will he be allowed to stand?
Well, this is a big question remaining unanswered at this moment. That Joshua Wong has just signed up for running for the upcoming legislative election. This is not the first time for him to run for election. He did so last November in another local election, but then he was barred from running at that election. So it's been closely watched that whether he can run for this election, especially under the newly implemented national security law, which clearly stated that anyone who doesn't uphold the national security law may face may be barred from running for public office. So for many observers and analysts in Hong Kong, it's been closely watched that how the government will handle the upcoming election and how they will interpret the new law and to screen candidates in the coming few weeks.
Our correspondent Phoebe Kong reporting for us. Thank you very much.